Welcome to today's numeracy tutorial. Our learning objective today is to know how to find area. As always, we'll get ready for our lesson with a 5-question brain gym. Get ready to get warmed up. Here are your 5 questions. Pause the video now and have a go. Well, how did you get on? Question 1 asks which shape has the largest area. Well, area is the space taken up by a closed shape. A and B are both quadrilateral 2D shapes. We can see that B covers a greater surface, and that means B's area is the largest. You may have calculated question 2 using formal written method. You would have found the quotient to be 25. For question 3, 1, 2, 7 and 14 are factors of 14. Remember, factors are numbers that divide equally into a number. There will be no remainder. 1 divides into 14, 14 times. 2 divides into 14, 7 times. 7 divides into 14, 2 times. And 14 divides into 14, well, once. You need to subtract in question 4. Did you do this mentally in your head, or did you use a written method? I noticed that I can make the calculation more efficient. Had you noticed? What do I mean by that? I mean that I can make it simpler and more straightforward. I can adjust the numbers by 1, and that means I will avoid exchanges. I can write so that we can see 800 subtract 120 is actually 680. I used the more efficient method of written subtraction. As normal, question number 5 is a time question. The minute hand is pointing to 7. This tells me that the time is going to be minutes to the next hour. Numbers on the clock face are separated in 5-minute intervals. I can see that there are still 25 minutes to go until the next hour, which is 11. So the time is 25 minutes to 11. We record this in digital time as 10:35. Digital time is always written left to right. The current hour ... minutes past the start of the current hour. Now we are ready to focus on our learning objective for today. We are going to build on from our previous tutorial to find areas. Here we have some shapes. We are challenged to make different figures using all of the 5 pieces. Why don't you use some shapes at home and give this a go? Pause the video now. How many different figures did you make? Let's see some examples of the figures I made by using all 5 pieces. I wonder what the area of this figure is. I used 3 squares and 2 right-angled triangles. 2 right-angled triangles joined together to make a square. So that means the 2 right-angled triangles have an area of 1 square unit. So we can say our figure has an area of 4 square units. This time I arranged the shapes differently to make another figure. You can see that I used the 2 right-angled triangles in the same way. I put them together to make a square. I've actually made a rectangle. This figure also has an area of 4 square units. This time I arranged the shapes differently to make another figure. I did not use the 2 right-angled triangles to make a square. The figure is still a quadrilateral because it is a 2D shape with 4 straight sides. All the sides meet. Although it looks different, this figure's area is still 4 square units. I used all 5 pieces to make a different quadrilateral this time. I did not put the 2 right-angled triangles together to make a square, but you can see the area of this shape is 4 square units. I used all 5 pieces to make 4 different quadrilaterals. Each shape has an area of 4 square units. We counted the squares to find out how much surface each of the shapes filled. It's so very important to be clear about the difference between area and perimeter. These shapes do not share the same perimeter. Area is the amount of space inside a closed shape. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. It's the length of the shape's rim. Here are 2 of my shapes. You can see that the area for both shapes is 4 square units. Pause the video now and have a think about what their perimeters might be. we can see the perimeter of the first shape is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 units. Similarly, we can find the perimeter of the rectangle by counting the sides or by using our perimeter formula. Do you remember that? Perimeter is equal to the length plus the width multiplied by 2. So the perimeter is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 plus 1 times 2. So we have found the perimeter of the rectangle is 10 units. Hi Francesca, today we are learning to find areas. Do you know how to do that? Well, you can see she says to find the area, I'm going to count the squares. That's what we've been doing. The total area is 12 squares. Oh, Greg says we can do something different. He says I'm going to use multiples to be more efficient. Well, let's see what he means by that. If we look across each row, we can see there are 4 squares in each row. So we could count in 4s. The first row being 4, then 8, then 12. So we added 4, add 4, add 4, which is equal to 12. Another way to say that would be 3 groups of 4. 4 multiplied by 3, which we know is equal to 12. You may have noticed that in actual fact there are 3 squares in each column. So we could have counted in 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12. So adding groups of 3. Or we could have also written 4 groups of 3 or 3 multiplied by 4, which gives us 12. Greg means counting in multiples is a more efficient way of finding the area. You're less likely to make a mistake than counting one by one. How can we find the area of the part of the shape that is shaded blue? Well, we can start by counting the whole squares. These shapes have the same area, so the total area is 3 squares. But we also have half a blue square. That means the total area is 3.5 squares. Here are 3 examples with sections shaded different colours. Can you find the area of the coloured sections? Pause the video and have a think. How did you get on? In the first example, we have 2 full squares and 1 half square. So the area is 2.5. In the second example, we have 2 full squares again, but this time we have 2 halves. Did you remember that we can put 2 right-angled triangles together to make a square? And that means 2 right-angled triangles has an area of 1 square unit. So we can say our shape has an area of 3. In the third example, we have 4 full squares and 4 half squares, and they join together to make 2 squares. So the area is 6. This brings me to the end of today's tutorial, but before I go, I'll leave you with a little reminder from Flora and Drake. Flora reminds us that area is measured in square units, and that area means all the space on the inside of a shape. Drake wants to go and see Greg run around the perimeter of the park. The perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. Okay, you guys are ready to complete your independent task now. Careful counting and good luck.